When I was pregnant with my third child, I had a scheduled C-section to go in, but I went into labor early. So I went into the hospital. I told them I was in a lot of pain, and they kind of brushed me off and said it's not a big deal. I insisted that I was in too much pain, so they decided to do the C-section right then and there. My stomach had ruptured before they even cut me open. So when the doctors cut me open to remove Daniel, they were amazed. How did I not already bleed out? How is my stomach holding this child in there until the moment that they were able to remove him? They started calling in doctors, they were taking pictures, and I didn't know what was happening at the time. I was just laying there waiting to meet my little boy. Immediately he was taken from me. He was taken to the NICU, and I didn't get to know anything. I just have been separated from this baby that was inside of me for 9 months, and all of a sudden he's just gone. I remember the doctor coming in right after my C-section, and she told me, I don't know how scientifically you guys survived that. My stomach was already starting to heal itself on the inside. It was already starting to scab up, and that's not something that should happen. And I thank God for that. I thank God for saving us, for saving him. A little bit of time turned into more time, and then more time from that, and it was about 24 hours before I was even allowed to go back there and see him. And when I did, he didn't look okay. He didn't look like my other children that I had given birth to. Like, he was hooked up to all these machines, and I wasn't sure what was happening to him, but either way I was excited to see my teeny baby. I wasn't able to just pick him up and hold him. I was only able to touch him from a little bed right there. The doctors came in the next morning, and they told me that I should wake up my husband next to me, who is asleep on the bed. The doctors told us to prepare for him to not come home. They told us that they've maxed out all the care they can give him here. We could either fly him to Utah, but he probably won't make it in transport, or we could stay here and hope that it doesn't get any worse. And I thought about what I was going to tell their siblings. What am I going to tell my daughter? She's not a big sister anymore. Or what am I going to tell my son, that he doesn't have a little brother? All these thoughts were running through my head of what comes next with the doctors telling us my little boy is not coming home with me. Instantly, I thought, I can't do this, God. There's no way I can leave and not have a third child, God. I just carried this baby in my stomach for 9 months, and the thought of him not coming home was terrible. We chose to stay here. We chose to stay here, and we chose to pray over him and pray for him, and we knew that God's got this. Whether our son comes home with us or he doesn't, God was going to use that for his glory. Whether it was to speak to families that have lost a child, or to be a story of a child that lived when the doctors told us that he wasn't going to. We knew that God had this. I walked in to see my little boy about 2 days in, and I was so amazed that they had taken off some of the machines. He must be doing better. I'm able to actually put hands on him and not just stick my hand through a little opening in the bed. And as I started touching him, all of a sudden doctors and nurses were running in, and they pushed us out of the way. I didn't know what was happening, but they just started yelling, we have to do surgery now on him. We have to do surgery now. And then I heard another nurse yell, but he doesn't have any pain meds. And they said, well, it has to be now. And I looked back at the photos that my husband took at that moment, and he was completely purple. I was just so excited to see my son, to see him laying there, and to be able to fully put my arms on him, that I didn't realize what was happening at that moment, that I was seconds away from losing him there. He went back to his normal color, but he went back on so many more machines. And what I thought was 1 step better was actually 5 steps worse. Again and again, they were telling us our options, or to prepare for things not going so well. After weeks of going to the hospital 2 times a day, I would try to make it for every shift change so I could get the latest update on my little boy. I remember this feeling of being so torn, like God's going to take care of it, and God is in control, and all things are going to happen for his good. I remember knowing that no matter what, God was still good. Whether I bring my boy home or my boy gets to go be in heaven with God, either way, God is going to work all things for his good. But at the same time, I had 2 little kids at home that I felt like I was failing them. I felt like I was pushing them off on different babysitters day in and day out, week in and week out. I had no idea how long this was going to go on. All I knew was I want to spend as much time with my baby as I possibly can before he maybe isn't here anymore. But I know that God's a God of peace also. I walked in to visit him one time, and right above his little NICU bed was a little framed piece of art with a little lion on it. And for most, that's insignificant, but for us, we named our son Daniel because of that story, because of Daniel in the Bible. That was God telling me he's gonna be okay. My Daniel is in the lion's den right now, but he's gonna make it out okay. And there is so much comfort in that little sign from God that wouldn't make sense to anyone else, but to me, I saw God in that. This bed that my son has been laying in for weeks, all of a sudden, I was able to notice, my eyes were open to this little framed art right above his bed. Even when the doctors told me it was impossible, they told me that my little boy wasn't coming home, my God is the King of impossible. He is a miracle worker. He made a way when they said there was no way. My God brought my little boy home, and he's healthy 6 years later.